Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Arshel Branch, and before we get started, again, I'm going to apologize for the beeping. You already know this is like routine with us, right? You already know there's beeping. Arshel, you got to reach it, turn this. I know it's annoying. Yeah, we know. The beeping is irritating. I apologize, but by next week videos, it will not be here. So today, you guys, we are going to talk about Kamala Harris VP pick, Tim Walz. Now, here's the thing. When we look at who we are choosing to be candidates, not to say that she was chosen because, well, she wasn't chosen by the people. She was chosen by the elite. So she was selected, not elected. There was no primary. When the chapters of Black Lives Matter have something in common with the America First conservatives, that means there's something really going on here. Now, as it relates to Kamala Harris choosing Tim Walz over Josh Shapiro, who is the governor of the state in which I reside in, which is Pennsylvania, I think everybody kind of thought it was going to be him, but then it's seeming like she was pressured by the left. Now, here's the thing. They're saying that she was pressured into making this decision. Honestly, I think she's always been a socialist herself. I mean, she's not very intelligent. She does these very long, big gestures to try to explain when she's trying to speak. If she's having a hard time or stumbling over her speech, she does these really long gestures. She repeats herself with these ridiculous slogans. As you remember the clip of, the passage of time, she used big gestures because she doesn't really know what she's saying. Now, one of the things I think we notice about some of these socialists is that they're not really intelligent. I think the only real intelligent socialist might be Bernie Sanders. I think he might be the only intelligent socialist. I don't really find that to be the case with AOC. I certainly don't find that to be the case with Kamala Harris. At the same time, though, here's one of the things that we noticed about the 2020 thing with Joe Biden. Joe Biden came across as the moderate, right? That he's not going to be far left, he's not woke. And so for the audience and for the voters, everybody just assumed that things are going to get back to normal. They voted for normal because they wanted to get back to normal. This whole new normal, no. They just want to get back to normal. The whole back and forth between conservatives and Democrats, this was going to simmer down. He was going to be the great unifier, as Joe Biden has referred to himself as when he was running for president during that whole campaign. Even though he didn't really campaign much, he campaigned from the basement. But this was one of the things that he wanted to be known for, right? He was going to be the great unifier, that he was going to help families, that he was going to get us out of the trouble that he said President Trump had put us in, even though he wasn't responsible for the virus. But it's another conversation for another day. Ultimately, what you had was a moderate. Now, I always said that Joe Biden was the plausible diversion. Now, I don't know how many of you guys like old movies, and, just follow where I'm going with this. There's an old movie. It's called Victor Victorium. And no, we're not talking about transgenderism, but here's what I'm saying. This movie has Julie Andrews, James Gardner, and Robert Preston. In the movie, Robert Preston is in the middle of cutting Julie Andrews' hair. And he says to her, you have to pretend to be something that you're not if you're going to try to make money. If you're going to try to get a benefit that is not going to be allowed to you, you have to pretend to be somebody. You're going to be a woman pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. And she said, well, no audience is that gullible. They'll know he's a phony. Like, well, that's exactly the point. When a magician is trying to convince an audience that a trick is real to an audience, the magician must come up with a plausible diversion. Joe Biden was the plausible diversion in this case, right? He was the moderate, or the one who was going to pretend to be the moderate. He had to pretend to be something he wasn't, so that way he would be able to get the votes. Try to be something that you're not. Of course, we saw that there was suppression of information, a lot of the propaganda trying to say that the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation. Here we come to Kamala Harris now. Here you have a woman who was not elected but selected. When she was primaried for the 2020 election, guess what? She lost. She was proven to be last. Nobody liked her because she was too far left. She wasn't likable. She was less liked by the poll numbers in that whole campaign compared to Hillary Clinton. That's saying a lot, right? But she was actually considered to be less liked than Hillary Clinton. And I do give that credit to Tulsi Gabbard. I think she slaughtered her on that debate, and it was phenomenal. But here's the thing, she was too woke. And just so if there's anyone in the comments who thinks that she isn't, well, let me play this clip for you guys, because there is a clip in here where she says, we just got to be woke. And it's circulating right now, and I think she might be upset about it, but I'm going to play that clip.
And, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Not laughing. They look really awkward. They all look really awkward looking at her. It's like, why are you laughing? There's something funny. Something funny. You have to stay woke, she said. You have to stay woke. So we know that she's woke. She's someone who supported the Green New Deal. She's someone that will not denounce socialism. When she was on The View, when she had the opportunity to denounce it, she did it. And this is when Meghan McCain was still on the show. And she was there trying to figure out, well, are you for socialism? Are you not for socialism? And Kamala Harris really had nothing to say about it except for, no, I think this is a good thing. And so she just refuses to denounce socialism. It's because she's a socialist herself. And I know you want to sit here, when you have some people who want to say that capitalism is a really bad thing, that when you talk about people like Karl Marx, that they say, oh, well, what the conservatives are saying about Marxism is just absolutely wrong. No, read by the man. He did not like people. I mean, it's as if he wanted to hurt people. This is what Karl Marx stood for. And so when you hear people say that Marxism is about equity, that it's about equality and diversity, that they found some way to make this work, this postmodernism that we're dealing with today, trying to make it seem as if this is what's good for the American people. Kamala Harris is almost Castro in heels. Everything she wants to do, she wants to strip the people of wealth, which we're already seeing right now, right? We spoke about this in the last episode. We have officially labeled Kamala Harris the perpetrator for the crash. Say what you want about it. This is what they're calling it, right? The Kamala crash. And it's now been circulated amongst dads. Everybody's referring to this. And I think this is going to get to the nitty gritty of the differences here between Trump Vance versus Kamala and Walz. We're not talking about making sure that children have free lunches and free breakfast. Like, that's not even the issue. I don't think any conservative or Republican has an issue with tax dollars going to children for lunch, right? We don't have an issue for that. That's not the problem here. The issue here is that they're both trying to strip the American people of their wealth so they can fund the things that we do not believe in. And now here's the thing. The more research I did about this gentleman as the governor of Minnesota, what do you find when you look at his vice presidency pick? Does this actually help her or hurt her? Now, as I said, talking earlier about Joe Biden being considered the moderate, it was plausible. You can believe that people voted for him because he was moderate, right? He was for making sure that businesses were booming. He was for the little guy, the working man, the blue collar worker. He was for those individuals. Kamala Harris, she defines wealth at $400,000. The woman doesn't really know how to explain how the economy works. She just repeats everything that the American people are saying, pretends to be something that she's not. And no different. You have the same thing with Tim Walz. Now, I was watching an episode of Megyn Kelly today where they were actually going over his military record, that there was something suspicious about this. There's something very weird going on when you look at his military record, that just shortly after finding out that his platoon was going to go to the Middle East for war in 2001, he had retired. And he's saying, no, it was a year later. So, I mean, he got caught in a lie. And this was all brought up. He was supposed to have been continuing his career in the military because he had re-enlisted. He says 4 years. The information says 6 years. So all in all, you have people who are saying that this man pulled out of his responsibility to lead his men into battle, and he walked away from them. This man is no Captain Kirk, I'll say that. He's just a coward in this regard. Several other interviews that I've seen him in, he talks about socialism in a good way. And so when someone tries to characterize socialism as a good thing, this is not good for anybody. Okay? Now I'm going to play the clip for you guys where it's from the rally. I will do a more thorough, in-depth video reaction to the rally, but she does go into, because again, this is the first time we've heard anything from her about why she chose this individual to be her VP pick. I would like to assume that there are going to be other interviews down the line where she explains why him, but I'm going to play that clip for you guys as to why she chose him, just a few bits of it, because really her voice is irritating. I can't, but we'll play that next clip for you guys. Let's go ahead and let's do that.
Here's the thing. Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future.
Announced your candidacy, woman. Everybody was thinking it was going to be Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania. So this whole, I've been looking for a partner. No, here's the thing. You were thrown into the mix. You wanted this power. Since you announced your candidacy, I've been looking for a partner. No, you've been looking for ways to get some clout, to get the delegates, trying to get people to support you, trying to get people to endorse you, because, there were so many people who were so against her candidacy in the first place. Patrisse Cullors isn't happy. Several Democrats wanted a primary and they didn't get one. They have no choice but to just accept her as the candidate. And, oh, I've been looking for a partner. No, you've been trying to get some clout and some attention just so you'd have something to say in the event that there was going to be ever a conversation between her and President Trump. We would like to see a debate, but she's been trying to get some traction under her heels because let's call it spade. Nobody wanted Kamala Harris. They didn't want her in 2020. They didn't want her today. She was never elected for this position. They just took the opportunity away from Joe Biden. This is not because I feel bad for Joe Biden here. I mean, I feel bad for the Democrat voters. You didn't even get a chance to vote for her. And now they're all jumping on the Kamala train. She spent most of her time just trying to get some clout and some support from the money people in her party, from the delegates of her party, trying to get her to actually be the next nominee. Like even in this rally, she announced that she is officially the nominee. So there were problems within the Democrat camp that even though she's being promoted as the Democrat nominee, that it hadn't really been decided yet. So no, we don't believe that you've been looking for a partner when you're going back and forth. We all thought it was going to be Josh Shapiro, and it wasn't. And some people are speculating it's because he was Jewish and Tim Walz is more pro-Palestinian. I'm not getting into the Israel versus the Palestinians. If you guys have any comments on that, you can go ahead and throw that in the comment section, because to be honest, it's not that I don't have any opinions on it. I'm still taking the time to learn more about the circumstances. But, it is very telling when the so-called black woman chooses the Palestinian supporter to be her vice president pick over the Jewish person to be her VP pick. That is very telling. And again, this is showing that maybe she is trying to lean closer to the left, which is what you're getting here. Let's continue this clip, shall we? His face is annoying.
A leader who will help unite.
He betrayed his men before war. That's
forward.
like
A fighter for the middle class, a patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America.
So he cares so much about the promise of America. You guys, remember 2020. There were a bunch of riots everywhere, okay? Ilhan Omar has come out to defend this man. She's very excited about this guy. And, let's just look at this man's record. From on top of him walking away from his men just before they were about to be deployed and they needed some real leadership. That's what the people who worked with him in the military at that point were actually doing the National Guard. They were about to be deployed and he retired. They needed a good leader. They thought he was it and he retired. You abandoned your men before battle and we're supposed to believe that this is the guy. I don't even know why she thinks this guy's going to have her back. It seems to me that when things get tough, he dips. So I don't understand how she could actually trust this guy to begin with. That's just the first thing. Secondly, here, when you talk about how he's a true patriot, he was like AWOL during the whole 2020 riots of his state. Even the Democrat media was coming out saying, where the hell is he? I don't understand. You have Black Lives Matter and Antifa causing up a storm here. They are destroying businesses, but he's for the middleman. He's for the little guy. He's for businesses. He's for the promise of the American dream while he stood idly by while they destroyed small businesses, destroyed neighborhoods. The police were unable to do their jobs. He's in favor of defund the police, but he's a patriot. We're supposed to believe that this guy is that. This guy is so far left. You don't have the illusion of moderate here. And I've been saying, listen, this is what I've been saying, right? President Trump is the moderate in this campaign. In this presidential race, Trump is the moderate. Now, some are going to say he doesn't appear to be that way. Like, no, he's definitely the moderate here, because what does he believe in? Building business, parental rights, thriving communities, safe streets, closed borders. None of this is brand new. You even had Democrats that were in favor of closed borders. This is nothing new. This was normal. Children getting proper education. This is normal. This is nothing, on some I'm a crusader type. This makes Trump the moderate here. Okay. Tim Walz wants to mutilate children. He wants to let businesses be destroyed. He went completely AWOL on the state, which shouldn't be surprising if you look at his military record, and he abandoned his men before military. I'm kind of stuck on that one, you guys, because I'm such a supporter of our troops, and I love what they've done for us. I mean, well, it's not, they go through so much, our troops. And when they say they need leadership and they're counting on their leaders to lead them into battle, charge into places that we ordinary civilians are just don't don't have the guts to go into. I don't have the guts. Listen, if they said women didn't have to go into combat zones, I'd be an ensign in the Navy today. That's what I would do. Because love Star Trek, love the ensign title, would work my way up to becoming a lieutenant, just like Bolana Torres. Side note. But this is kind of the problem here, right? So I'm going off. I'm going to finish this clip. Parts of it. And they just applaud.
A promise.
Like they just don't know. They just don't know anything.
A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for
Where
some,
was he?
but for all.
2020. Yeah. Let me wait.
So Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader.
Governor
Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
Great state. Okay, I gotta stop, guys. I can't even do it anymore. I can't even do it anymore. This woman, her voice is irritating. The laughs, the smiles. I don't like the woman. I can't. I'm not gonna call her a bad name. I'll just say she's entirely just dishonest, deceitful. And the person she picked, I mean, this is a good indicator for what you're going to get. I mean, you have completely two different campaigns here. You have Trump fans. I mean, not only are they in favor of capitalism and actually strengthening the economy, but they're actually looking into things of financial freedom, and not just in growing wealth, but also in choice of currency. That's a big deal for America first. They are interested in protecting Americans and putting our interests first, putting our priorities ahead of that of the rest of the world and the ones that are actually here who came to this country illegally. She is for open borders, and so is he. This is why Ilhan Omar has supported him. This is why Kamala has chosen him, because of, I believe, his position on the whole Israel and Palestinian conflict at the moment, which is just growing even larger and larger. And I just do not think that this woman is prepared to fight that war. People, you have to go beyond this notion of wanting to murder your babies and mutilating your children. Okay. First of all, if you want to mutilate children, that makes you evil and Machiavellian. I don't care. You want to be an adult and you want to chop your private parts off. That is for you to decide when you turn 18. But you want to do this to children, I got serious issues here. That doesn't make you the moderate. That doesn't make you normal. Okay. You know, the irony here is that they're saying that the conservative campaigns are the ones that are weird, that J.D. Vance and Trump are weird, that there's something wrong with us because we are questioning the race of Kamala Harris. We are questioning the legitimacy of her candidacy, of her being the nominee for the Democratic Party. There are problems with this woman. If she could lie about something so simple as her race, because she's never ran as a biracial individual, right? She never ran as a biracial individual. And I don't care when they say, oh no, she says she's black, she can be black. I don't know if you guys remember this story a few years ago, but there was a gentleman who had lied about being a black individual so that way he can qualify for a scholarship to a college university. Then they found out he wasn't black at all. He was Indian. And he just took advantage of the situation because he felt like, well, affirmative action works for blacks. It doesn't work for actually Indians. And so because I appear black, I'm going to take advantage of this. And then they found out he wasn't black at all. So there you had that. Now, I don't know if you guys remember that, put it in the comment sections if you remember that actually happening, because I remember when that story came out. And, looking at him, you would say, yeah, he's black because his skin was dark. But when they found out that he was Indian, people were so offended by this. Black Americans were so offended by this. So this notion that a person who is a person of color can just say, oh, well, I identify as black, that all of a sudden that means that you're black. Why is this relevant? Because if she could lie about something as easily as her race, or forget about the other side of who she is that makes up her individual, well then, why should I trust her to not forget something so important about where the trade agreements are, how not to push nuclear buttons, how not to piss off the wrong people? I mean, how am I supposed to trust anything that this woman has to say? And then the person you're choosing as your VP pick, he abandoned his men before war. And this is the guy you have to be your second? Really? When the going got tough, he dipped. He was not there for his men. After having a career in the military, when they needed someone to lead them into battle, he abandoned his people. That's what he did. He went AWOL when all hell broke loose during 2020. He said, you say that he's there for the promise of the American people. He let his city burn. He let his state burn. He was not there to do anything. And this isn't about him wanting to make sure that there is state funds and tax dollars made available for children who have full bellies for lunch and for breakfast, whose parents can't afford to give them that. That's not a bad thing. That's something that no one is saying is a problem. If you want to use taxpayer dollars to make sure that children get a full belly before they go into their classrooms, I'm for that. That's fine. That's not the issue here. The issue is you want to take taxpayer money so you can fund other socialist agendas like the Green New Deal, which only kills the energy, which is part of the reason why the economy is going to trash. His state's GDP isn't up. His state isn't going to be all of that safe because he's for defunding the police. The man is an open socialist, which is why you have socialists getting behind this. And this is the problem here. You have people in that audience who are sitting there excited, clapping, cheering. I don't know if they're paid. There are reports that they are putting in, homeless individuals into her campaign rallies. I don't know if that's true, but I have heard some reports about that. So I'm leaning that this could be true. She did take some advice and not brought in trash like Megan Thee Stallion to actually come in and perform some of these ridiculous songs that she was doing. But ultimately, you have someone here who is socialist herself. Her VP pick is a socialist. And this is one hell of a contrast between her presidential campaign versus President Trump's. They dare say that it's the Trump campaigns that are weird because they want to say you're a cat lady. Who cares? All of a sudden we can't say certain things because people get so offended. Sticks and stones. But you know what hurts? When we can afford the gas prices, when we can afford the homes. But you want to sit here and say that everybody should be able to go for the American dream. Later in her speech, you guys, she goes into how every person should be able to afford a home. Yeah, I do. So where were you when you got into office? Because you are the vice president. This isn't that you don't have a record here for us to check to determine whether or not we should vote for you. You had the opportunity of picking a moderate so you can come across as a moderate. That was Josh Shapiro. He was a moderate. You see a lot of pro-Israel going around with the Republicans, as well as, you have a lot of that going on with the Congress. You had the opportunity here of being able to say you are the moderate. That there might be some disagreements between you and Josh Shapiro, well, that would actually mean that there's some debate going on to actually find some sound agreement, legislation that could be bipartisan because he's more moderate than she is. But you just completely walked away from that opportunity because you decided to go with someone who's about as far left as the rest of them, like Elizabeth Warren, like AOC. And frankly, I think she might have gone that way because, AOC doesn't necessarily support the fact that Kamala Harris is here. We see that with a lot of the far leftists who are socialists. They weren't exactly thrilled that it's not Joe Biden. They really wanted it to be Joe, and it's not. It's Kamala, and they didn't get a chance to pick her, and they just didn't want her. And AOC made that very clear. She's not happy about this any more than she is, but maybe she'll be more happy if she picks this individual. And it's quite possible maybe that's why she got the delegates. I don't even know here, but the fact of the matter is when you look at what's going on with her VP pick, they're both freaking socialist people. Excuse my language. It's not a curse word, but still. They're both socialists. And this is not good for anybody. So not only was she appointed, they are both socialists. I'm getting Maduro vibes here. I'm getting Zelensky vibes here. You decided to have a coup just so you can install the person that you think is going to be controllable. And that's what you got with Kamala Harris. And, her being a black person supposedly supposed to help her in the polls. They're saying that they're equal now. I don't even know what's going on with this. Again, like I said, this whole election season is completely weird. It's not normal. I've never in my entire lifetime of elections did I ever see a nominee never ever get the nomination without a primary. I've never seen that happen, like ever. But I've also never seen just a one-term president until Trump was a one-term president. I've never seen that in my lifetime either. So I guess this is the time of things not being normal. But hey, maybe not being normal is what's going to get us to take America back. Again, it is moderate versus far left. It is moderate capitalism, tradition, not so much tradition, but more so capitalism, stronger communities, safer communities, strong military, strong police force, right? Educated children, safe children, children not getting mutilated by their doctors, people actually able to trust their shrinks and not telling their children that they need to cut their private parts off versus everything that is against everything I just said, right? They want to, mutilate children. They want to abort babies up to late term and after birth. They want to kill the wealth of this country. In my opinion, I do believe that they want to drive us closer to a CBDC, into strengthening the power of central banks. I do not believe that Kamala Harris or Tim Walz are prepared to deal with the conflicts that are happening across the world, to prepare for conflicts, possibly with BRICS, simply because Iran, I believe, is, going to be a problem. And then what happens when you end up dealing with other countries that are a part of the BRICS nations? Does this lead us to another World War III? Do I truly believe that Kamala Harris is going to be able to handle that? Do I truly believe that Tim Walz, the guy who abandoned his men before battle, is the guy who's going to be able to assist her in that? And I wonder if she's going to make him the border czar, because then she'll actually be able to say she's no longer that. So we shall see. You guys go ahead and get in the comment sections and let me know what you think about this whole circumstance. I believe that this presidential race is between socialism with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz versus, well, just American normalcy, right? Safe streets, strong economies, opportunity, educated children, safe children, and according to President Trump, abortion up to a certain period in time. So that's normal in America. Let's at the very least be advocating to get back to normal, because once you get back to normal, then we can start focusing on the actual crusaders. I believe Trump and Vance are the moderate. They've just made a martyr out of a moderate. And really, I think that's why people are assuming that he's all these terrible things. And, this notion that he stands with Project 2025. No, actually, he said he wasn't going to stand by that. And frankly, I think that was the most telling thing about him being a moderate. He's not a crusader. He's a moderate. What you're up against is a far leftist socialist agenda that would destroy America. And if you don't believe me, just look at the last 4 years. Joe Biden pretended to be a moderate and destroyed this country. And now you've got people who are open about the fact that they are socialist. They're not hiding it. It's quite obvious. It was like watching the Olympics. It was quite obvious that these people hate Christians. There used to be a time when they would hide it, right? It would be sneaky, snarky little comments here and there, But now they're just open about it. No, we don't like Christians. We hate Christians, and we don't believe God is real. It was quite obvious. They're not hiding it. No, we're socialists. We're socialists, and we want to destroy America. That's Bidenomics. That was the ad for the Kamala crash. It was very funny ad. I encourage everybody to go and watch that. But again, you guys go ahead and get in the comment sections and you let me know. Do you think this is capitalism versus socialism? What do you think about her VP pick? Do you think he's as far left as I believe he is? I think he is. I do not think that this is a moderate ticket. So you go ahead and get in the comment sections. Again, you guys, I'm your host, and if you want to support the show, you can go ahead and you can cash at me at hashtag #RShellBranch. The hashtag is in the description at the top of the page. So thank you all for watching. God bless. Kepler. Have a good one.